this meeting to order. May I have the roll call, please?
Ron?
Here.
Justin?
Here.
Deanna?
Here.
Krista?
Here.
Doug?
Here.
James?
Here.
Great. May I have a motion for the approval of the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
I just abstained because I wasn't here.
For the agenda? You don't care about the agenda, right? I mean, you're all right. We're just
Oh, I
doing the
see.
agenda,
Oh,
not
I'm
the...
sorry.
That's all
I'm
right.
not listening to you.
Well, that's
Still on vacation.
excellent.
I'll abstain from the agenda too.
Anyone in the audience here to have any concerns about any items that are not on the agenda? We'll discuss those now. Okay. We'll move on. Approval of the P&Z Commission meeting minutes from February 15th, 2016.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those or abstain?
Aye.
Did you get those? Sorry.
Oh. Thank you.
If we're not here for the last meeting, it's policy we abstain.
Understood.
All right, we'll move on to item number 6.
I'll let Kathleen, she's the star of the evening.
Yep, well, yeah, what you have in front of you, you've had those for about a little over a month now, but is the draft comprehensive plan report with all the maps. Those are also available online for your review. So hopefully at this point in time, you've had a chance to go through those documents. I did email all the members of the stakeholder committee to remind them that we'd be discussing it at tonight's meeting, and let me know if they would have had any comments and to email them to me. I did not receive any responses. And I also made sure that the department heads and council and the mayor and staff were aware that the document's out there in draft form too. So, and again, I didn't have any further comments, so I guess I'm not sure how you want to proceed. I don't want to spend the time to read the report to you, so I didn't know if you guys have any specific things you wanted to talk about, or I guess maybe some of the folks in the audience perhaps are here on that. I don't know.
I have a couple of comments.
Sure.
First of all, did an excellent job. Really impressed.
Thank you.
Yeah, very, very good. I passed on to Mindy and
Yep.
whoever else. It's very well done. And being kind of in this business a little bit, I've seen a lot of stuff, and this is really right at the A+. The only thing that was a little hard for me is the maps are real hard to read
Right.
in some cases.
Yeah, and we did. That's why we had them online, so you could zoom in on them too. In the final format, we'll probably have a good chunk of those that are 11 by 17. And again, they'll be larger sizes at City Hall, and we'll have a copy that's posted online too, so anybody who wants to and is interested in a particular area can zoom in on that too. Because even 11 by 17, they're better and they'll be easier to read, but
Yeah,
won't have the option of.
That'd be very helpful.
Sure.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I'll take the pictures. I was in them.
But they were so dark.
She thought some of the pictures might be dark.
I told her that.
Yeah, there's some of the ones around the square, that kind of thing, that it was not the best time of year to take pictures. We may look at a few of those, see if we can, particularly those around the square.
Yeah. Things like that, you might want to consider rephotographing when the sky's blue.
Yeah,
Just, I don't know who this goes out to, but
yeah, well, I mean,
somebody coming into town with development. Just
Yep.
such minor things we're trying to find.
yeah, well, we kind of knew when we were putting it together that there was probably some of the photos we'd need to swap out with something a little more artistic.
Had one, I guess, question on page 48. Under the objective 3 is ensure new street designs are supportive of the small town atmosphere while protecting the integrity of the roadways. And the second bullet point, I guess, was just my question where we talked about low traffic speeds on most roadways, particularly on local streets. I guess through speed limits and roadway designs, I guess speed limits was maybe my question.
Okay, here we go.
See what I
Under
meant?
objectives, gotcha, okay. Yep,
Just looking, I guess trying to control the speed limit through posted signs is, I think more through the design of the street than
oh, true,
the actual posted speed limit. Maybe when I read that, I picked up on a different, but
okay,
I don't want somebody trying to put a 41-foot wide street and say 25 miles an hour, I guess.
yeah,
It's kind of,
yeah, yeah, maybe we list roadway design first.
I guess that would be my preference for that, because that kind of controls more, but.
Mm-hmm.
And then below that, down on the environmental section on the same page,
Okay.
there's 2 objective 2s, not a big deal.
Oh, yep, you're right.
But I'm just reading that, is that second objective 2, is that more potable water that you're talking about there, or?
Okay, let's see. Yeah,
Okay.
put that in there.
And then on 49, under goal 2, I guess, just another question on objective 1.
Mm-hmm.
Ensure there are adequate and sustainable stormwater detention facilities, which I guess we want to limit it to detention. I guess when I read it, that's where maybe stormwater facilities take out detention, so you get some
Sure.
of the bioswales or
Oh,
things like that
absolutely.
as options, but
Yep. Yeah.
other than that, yeah, I didn't have a whole lot on the notes.
Yeah, and we had talked, and I think we probably could even strengthen that by encouraging regional.
Yeah, and I think that's listed in there somewhere.
Yeah, you know, we talked about, I'll check on that. But rather encouraging a regional detention as opposed to
Yep.
just little puddles, but if it's somewhere else. Oh, no, it is, you're right, under the old objective 3, which should be
I
now
read it
4.
somewhere, I don't know where it's
Yeah,
at right now.
yep, I see it.
I think it's kind of opens it up to maybe the stormwater management manual versus just, I want somebody reading and thinking just detention if there's something else. that
Right,
maybe
sure, sure,
Achieves that.
yep, or a combination thereof.
Yeah, yep.
If I may, I'd like to make some comments here, as long as we're talking about stormwater. We have some more concerned citizens with ditch washing away behind their house, and of course wanting the city to repair it. And I think that's what they wanted anyway, they didn't come right out and ask for it. I think that we need to, moving forward, and I don't know how we get there, but we put in some ordinances that don't allow them to build right up to those ditches, because they're going to continue to erode. We don't have any in town that we're not having problems with. I was over driving around Ankeny this past weekend, and they don't. Their houses are well back.
Yeah, I think they had one subdivision, Westwards maybe,
Yeah.
that they had some of that years ago. They've had
And
some
I don't
big
know how
issues.
they got there, but it's something I don't know if that even involves you guys.
Well, yeah,
I would
we've
think
kind
it
of
would.
talked about it in here, and I apologize.
But-
It's under drainage.
I
Yeah,
don't,
under the goals and for the
Yeah.
implementation schedule.
Yeah, which all those come out of recommendations. Encourage developers to maintain suitable setbacks from natural ravines based on geotechnical report to minimize potential for future homes to be injected into erosion. And we could even make it stronger than that.
I think it should, and be
Okay.
backed up with ordinances.
Yep. Yeah, because encourage is
Because it's not gonna go away.
Yeah, yeah, we can just say, consider amending city code.
We don't require building envelopes, do we, on the plats that come in?
We don't.
So if that's where you have a situation where what you're talking about, if we would require building envelopes be shown and make it part of the ordinance,
Mhm.
instead of conveyance or whatever it is that we have, covenant, excuse me, that you have.
Yep. Well, and that would allow us to address one of the other comments in there, which is like the 250-foot hydrant radius that the city has now for fire hydrants. There's a lot of lots that are deeper than that, which is fine, it's just you can't situate your house
Right.
back that far. So that would help define that as well, so.
On the pages 138 through 146, which is what you resent to us
Oh, nice.
in the doc that was attached. See on there that you, I thought quite appropriately added a timing called immediate, which sets a guideline that shouldn't occur within 2 years. And that short term then is really from 2 to 5 years. So then as I went through some of the implementation schedule items, I was thinking some of those shorts, which is the 2 to 5, should likely, I mean, they don't seem like very heavy hitter items. It looks like they should be easy enough to get done within 2 years.
Okay,
And
yeah,
should they be
and honestly,
given
for
to
the most
immediate?
part, when my first blush through it, I was putting immediate as items that were subdivision ordinance related. Because really, a lot of these things do come back to reworking your subdivision ordinance, which hasn't been done for a lot of years. We went through the zoning ordinance a few years ago, but the subdivision hasn't been touched, and there's a lot of things that really aren't as compatible with SUDAS as they could be, and then also not as compatible with the goals and precedents that's been set even on other projects. So that, I mean, that was the reason why, but I mean, there's certainly, if there's something else that you want to try to
Just
push
a
forward.
few of them that to me just look like it'd be easy to accomplish, and
yeah.
it'd be good to get them checked off,
Yeah.
in the next 2
Which-
years.
which one?
So on, item number 3, which is the, having the landscaped islands in a parking lot.
Okay,
That seems like something we ought to be able to get checked off in a 2-year period. Then over on page 141, number 6, the trail easement width, that seems like something we should be attacking in very short order. And also number 10, the parkland dedication, to be calculated based on what's usable. Those all happen to be P and Z lead items. You might want to consider item number 3, which is actually a council lead item, moving from long to medium. And that is the Neil Smith Trail connector to the High Trestle Trail. I'll just throw that one out there
Okay.
for comment. Probably Ron would agree with me on that. And then over on page 144, item number 1, which is exactly what we were talking about regarding the detention, and having an ordinance for that. That also, to me, seemed like something we ought to be able to get done within a 2-year time span.
yeah, and that probably should have been listed because it is part of the subdivision, so that was actually, I missed that one. But yeah,
I have a couple more questions when you're ready. Great stuff. Maybe this isn't part of this, but we talked a couple of years ago about some kind of an ordinance for people parking trailers and putting for sale signs on them and stuff like that. I know staff is extremely busy. Is that something that we need to incorporate or look at, or?
I'll let you address that one.
I'm not sure the best place to put that. We'll look at that in a zoning, a zoning ordinance change.
Okay. Kind of what I'm getting to is, my observation is, to the city council, is that staff is pretty loaded down with stuff, with all the current things that have to be going on all the time. And then I look at all the stuff that somebody's gotta start putting ordinances together and do that. Is it Kathleen that's gonna be doing that for us? Are we paying them to do that for us? Because I don't think staff probably got the time to sit down and do all this.
You want to answer that, or you?
I'm going to defer to,
Well, in the past, we've never tried to reinvent the wheel. What we've encouraged you to do is go to other towns, see what they're doing, adapt their ordinances to suit us. We obviously have to get legal involved when it comes to drafting an ordinance, and then the way I would see it happening, that would go before you guys for your blessing or approval, and then would come back to us with your recommendation.
My question is, who's doing that? I know it comes to us and then goes to you, but before it gets to us, who writes it? Who has the time to write? Look at this and write it up and take the short-term stuff and start writing ordinances for it to present to us to look at.
I see staff doing it.
Does
You
staff-
sure wouldn't want me doing it.
Does staff have time to do all this? I mean, are we implementing this, or are we just saying this is a nice thing to have? I guess I'm saying that I think we're doing all this, and we need to provide some kind of method that this can get implemented to us. And I think your staff, with all the ongoing stuff it has, it's hard to do. It's probably, the expectations are greater than they should be on staff sometimes. And then that's why, Snyder and Associates can look at, and I think you do anyway, when ordinances come up.
Yeah, and we like the subdivision ordinance, we do those for a lot of communities, so I mean, that would be something that, and then since so much of it falls under SUDAS, which we're obviously probably more familiar with than anybody because we wrote the document in the first place. So that's something that we could handle, just because again, we've got a lot of model ones, and so that I don't think would be too onerous, especially because after going through this, we're pretty familiar with the things that you're wanting to update. So I mean, coming up with that first draft wouldn't be that difficult, and then I guess up from there, it would be whether you wanted us to make the changes or staff would do it. But
I saw
that I don't think, I think there's a lot of those. I mean,
Yeah, okay.
that if you start checking off which ones are in the subdivision ordinance, that we could probably tackle in kind of one fell swoop.
Yeah, well, I'll just take one, for instance, the architectural standards that you suggested be upgraded. And I guess it's the responsibility of our city engineer to put that together for staff, so, and then come to us, or are we having to pay Snyder and Associates more taxpayer money to do all that, or are they already hired to do that?
Well, yeah, I think we are. I think they don't do anything for free.
Well, we do, but.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
But not a lot.
I don't know, Gary.
what we'll probably do is a very similar thing that we did with the the zoning ordinance, where it was actually a tag team and then a work with the planning and zoning as we went through this. So we take bites and chunks of this as we go along, with the intent of accomplishing this in a 12-month period. If it goes a little longer, it goes to 18, it goes to 18. But to be able to sit down and systematically work through that and make changes. There'll be things that'll be done by staff, by Kathleen and staff, and then it will get brought to you. So there'll be work on both sides as I take a look at it. It won't be just a total, here's what I came up with. It'll be a product of both.
Okay, so you have the responsibility then to take the timing on this, of like taking immediate things and seeing that those are checked off within a certain amount of time and then following suit. So you're kind of doing that, but you're enlisting the help. You just can't do it all yourself. I know
I'm
you
going
can.
to where the experts
It's hard.
are, where we can get it done quicker.
Okay. And is city council committed to making sure that we can
I think we are.
implement this? I guess that's what I'd like to
If I don't
see.
break a leg.
Well, and one thing too is, I mean, if, for example, the subdivision ordinance, if you talk about it at multiple meetings or something to make sure that you guys are all happy with it before it goes to council. I mean, we charge our time 1 hour, no more than 1 hour per meeting. So we're gonna be, I mean, that's gonna be, so if we talk about it, there's not an additional charge for us discussing it during those meetings either, so,
But you have to put all this stuff together before it ever
Yeah.
gets to us, so,
yeah,
okay. Just-
yeah.
Well, I think now I understand more what you're saying. It's not that can staff do it, it's can they have the time to do it in a timely fashion? And I don't know, I've said if I haven't learned anything else sitting here, the wheels of government turn slow. And so I understand what you're saying, some of these we want to get in, but otherwise they're not going to be any more new developments because they're all going to be ready. So, yeah, I appreciate what you're saying.
Well, thanks. I mean, it's just a lot of stuff in here that, you know, needs commitment.
Sure,
And,
sure, and we want it to happen sooner rather than later.
yeah.
I'm following you now.
Thanks.
Any other comments?
Just to kind of tag on to what Doug had just said, at one point, as we had a lot of different proposals come in front of us, we actually had a matrix set up that said where each one was in the process. You know, that might be good for this implementation schedule too, just to help us remember what's on the list, what has been done, what has been deferred to later, without it falling through the cracks.
One of the things we were talking about doing is we'll have this in the book, but then maybe even sorting it by immediate versus, you know, by time frame as opposed to category. So that it's like, okay, let's shuffle those immediate things up to the top, and then figure out of those how many are the subdivision ordinance that we can kind of tackle a lot of them at one time, as an example. So I think that'll help track, and then we'll shoot that to Gary or Jenny or Becky or whoever.
I mean, it might be good to see, you know, this is scheduled to get done in this 2-month time frame, and then that'll be followed up by these that we might be looking at the next 2 months after that.
Every year, I'd like to see an update on something like you're talking about, to say, yeah, we've accomplished this, or we haven't had a chance to get this, and just kind of an update schedule, so
Yep.
we make sure that we are.
And that's kind of why we do it in this form, because it does, I guess, encourage implementation as opposed to a plan that just sits on the shelf somewhere. So.
Any other comments from the commission? I'm going to open it up to the audience. Anyone here to discuss the big book?
I would like to discuss it.
Great. If you would just state your name and your address before.
James Johnson at Northwest 44th. And I was looking at your maps, how you're planning on the zoning. Are you ready to discuss that, or?
You definitely can make your comments. We're not going to make any motions tonight on planning and zoning aspects.
I've got some questions.
Sure.
You've got like John McBride and our land put together as a light residential on that map. I'm really curious about that. Why? That area would be light residential and that is prime commercial land. There's something that I don't understand. I wanted to ask you about the sewer. Now, if you go to commercial,
This area.
to get a sewer line out of there,
Kathleen, you know what page it is?
Yeah, it would be the future land use map.
yes.
And
that's what
I believe the area he's talking about, if I'm not mistaken, I will verify with it, is kind of on the south side of 415, is that right? Am I the right location? Yeah, well, yeah, let me, but not right.
Yes,
because
that's
I'm
exactly what I'm
maybe showing
talking about. And you've got our land that we're living on zoned as commercial.
Well, this is future land use, not zoning, but yeah. We're-
Okay, my question is why was that decided to have?
Let me make sure I know which area you're talking about.
This right here, that's McBride's and mine's right there,
Uh-huh,
light residential,
right,
right?
right.
You know, originally, we were planning, the water mains were supposed to come and make a loop here
Uh-huh.
from that, but they stopped there and never come down our road.
Right.
That was promised to us, but never happened. Okay,
Oh.
I wanna know.
I guess I don't know who-
Okay, I guess my question is, I don't know who, if this is not set in stone, I'm sure.
No, yeah,
But why would that be when you consider the traffic on
Okay.
415 is horrendous already? That's a high-traffic area where you'd really rather have that land as commercial.
and just so you know, okay. Sorry, I didn't know there was gonna be discussion, I would have had the maps up. But the area that they're talking about is right in here. So it's on the inside,
Inside of the curve.
inside of the curve, if you will. This area.
Okay, now I need to ask on this, for sewer system, can you connect that land? Because you did get the government to let you come across with the one going to the pumping station. Can you put sewer from our land down along the old 415 and connect with the pumping station that way? All you'd have to get is the permission of,
I can answer a little bit of that. It is on the other side of 415. There is a lift station on what was 110th Street, down in that low area, near the, well,
well, can I see what I'm talking about?
yeah, I know where you're talking. But there is a lift station.
Well, I know where the lift station is.
Yep.
Here's
There's a lift
what I'm
station
talking
here.
about. Is there any problem with going from this? It doesn't show old 415. It goes. You would go straight downhill,
Right.
right alongside the,
Yeah.
and that's government land in that.
Well, there
on that
are,
bottom by this lift station.
yeah, there is an easement through Winding Creek Estates that would enable, which is that short little cul-de-sac there with a few homes that are off of it, just to the east of the
Yeah, I
Boat
know what you're
Stills
talking
place.
about, yeah.
Anyway, with that plat, there was a sanitary sewer easement that was dedicated that would allow a sewer to be brought up through the draw there, which is actually to the east of where you're talking about.
Correct.
So but
So that would make that viable for the.
it would. I mean,
Commercial. Okay.
I'm not going to tell you how much. No one's done a cost opinion on it. I mean, I'm sure it's not a
But
cheap
I
kind of
had
thing
my
to do.
curiosity about why it was zoned light residential, which I'm guessing would be like North Bay,
Yeah.
so you'd have septics.
Yes, that was the idea was
But the
that.
idea, if you can get that sewer in, that's prime commercial, I think. I don't think you could ask for better commercial property in right there.
Isn't it
The flow of traffic around
zone light
415.
commercial?
It's
Or
right
light
now. It's
residential, excuse me.
right now. It's in the county. I can't tell you. It's probably zoned agricultural now. It might be a state residential. I apologize. I don't know the county's zoning real well unless it's a particular parcel I'm looking up. So, but I would suspect it's probably at most it would be a residential. But it'd be probably either ag or residential right now. The reason we'd shown it as light was because although you can get sewer there, it is going to be kind of expensive because you've got a ways to go with the sewer, and it's through an area with trees, and then you've got to go under 415. And so it was, I mean, we hadn't really gone beyond that in terms of our suggestion, just because we were concerned it might be costly enough that no one would want to necessarily do that. And we didn't want to prohibit people saying, oh, you can't build homes with septic because you have to extend a sewer to serve that area. So I think, though, that if a commercial use presented itself, we could have some discussion in the text that would allow for the potential for rezoning or a more intense use if the sanitary sewer were extended.
Seems like we're always looking for commercial land,
Mm-hmm.
so it would make sense.
Okay, that's about it, because I felt you don't need to do a study for traffic out there.
Yeah.
Just try to get off of my 44 going to it at about 4 or 5 o'clock, so you know it's very high traffic, and that would be a beneficial. I mean, Ankeny has got everything on Delaware and nothing on the west side of town. And I would think that would make that land worth the little extra expense of going under the road. which is not that really costly, considering what the commercial land would bring in. So I was just thinking that I'd like to see people read, because that's what we want, is zone commercial. Okay, that's it for me. I don't-
Well,
Anyone else?
if I may, somebody correct me if I'm wrong. These are guidelines. These are not, that doesn't mean that we're gonna adopt these ordinances anytime soon, or zoning ordinance changes. It means if somebody would come in and offer you a huge amount of money to turn your land commercial, and you wanted to sell it, am I right so far? This enables us to do it.
And we would amend the future land use plan.
We would amend our future land use, or if a housing development come in and you decide you want to sell and they're offering you a lot of money, we can do that also.
Yeah, I'm gonna say,
But we're-
if somebody wanted to buy it, they would certainly like to know, what would it cost me to do this?
Yeah,
I mean, that's what I'm wondering, if you haven't done a study on that what it would,
no,
that total cost, that's what I was just wondering,
I
if
don't
that
think
was
so,
part of your.
unless,
No, it's outside city limits, so I mean,
yeah.
it's,
So if I did have a buyer who wanted to do that, and you could say, this is what this is gonna cost you,
Yeah.
that might make a difference,
No.
if somebody wants to pay or what, if he wants to even do it, but,
You are on city water right now, though, aren't you?
Yes.
yes, yes,
So,
yeah.
and there again, the cost to run that sewer out there, I don't see us ever having the money to run it out to ourselves. We'd have to have a developer. They would say, hey, I want to put X out there and I'll put the sewer in.
What kind of study be done to what it would cost though, or is that, in your
Sure,
right here,
we get anything for $1, can't we, Kathy?
Well, it isn't the responsibility of the city to put cost
Study.
things together
Yeah,
for developers.
typically a developer would do their own feasibility
Correct.
study.
They'd
And they're
have
gonna
to
look
come
at more than just the cost of the sewer, but
Yeah, you're not gonna be able to get what you're asking for. If somebody comes to you, they would have to put that together.
Yeah.
They would have to hire somebody to do a feasibility study. And
Well, see, I was
any
told-
developer
I was
would-
told one
Any
time-
developer would do that first before they purchase the land anyway.
or even go to the property owner. They already know what they're gonna have to put in that property, even before they approach a property owner.
So, you know,
Well, see, I was
developer-
told by, I can't remember who it was, they said the only way we could get sewer to there, we'd have to run a pumping station, he thought clear up 44. To connect up there. And you couldn't connect up there anyhow, because it's a high pressure line, I don't know why he told me that, I can't remember who I talked to, I wish I'd written it down. That's where I laughed, and I said, well, why would we even think of something like that? So I
Other
said,
than
well,
Ken
why
Flame's
could you not go
explanation,
under-
I don't know what else we can tell you, unless you wanna hire Snyder and Associates to do
Well,
a
and-
feasibility study.
I mean, we can provide, if anybody asks, we provide them copies of the preliminary plat that shows the grading and the contours, and the final plat that shows where those easements are. That'll give them an idea of how far they might have to run it. We know where the line ends now. I mean, it does kind of start up 110th, which is also East South Side Drive, a ways, and we have plans that show where that ends.
It has access to sewer, is what you're saying.
It has access, just not direct access.
Right. It's a matter of how.
It's a matter of how you define direct, but yeah.
You know, and I'm hearing a little bit in pieces of some stuff that's actually true here. And that is, yes, there is a lift station, and that lift station, excuse me, is on the east side of the barrier waters, and that is a high-pressure line all the way up to and across the street from 44th Street. So it's from what I'm hearing you're saying, Mr. Johnson, it sounds like somebody's got some of the information correct, but not the correct location.
Right, where you take it to.
Right.
Well, and where the gravity comes off of it, because there is gravity sewers started and that would be extended that will flow into that lift station. So it's not just the force main.
Okay, so I just wanted to know if that was possible.
Mhm. There's actually a few of the homes actually on Southside Drive that are already feeding into a gravity line there.
It's gravity up to 44th Street,
Well, not quite that far,
not quite.
but a ways. It's planned to extend farther.
Well, that's what I wanted to know.
Again-
If somebody did come along, then they'd have to come.
I think basically what they're
Yeah.
telling you is that if somebody came and wanted to buy your land, that developer would have an engineer that would do these studies, put together a price and say, here's what it's gonna take for you to develop
They'd
it.
have to do the state.
And that'd be figured into what they would
Yeah.
look at offering you.
Okay.
Yeah. And they may contact us, which is typical, to say, where, you know, do you have plans for the last segment of the sanitary sewer? We would get them that plan so they would know right where the sewer, and how
Have
deep
any
it
real
is.
plans on selling, we don't have anybody
Yeah.
talking to us.
Yeah.
Right,
But
Is it
that-
strictly, I'm just coming asking, what if?
Yeah.
sure. Yep.
Okay.
And that would tell them how deep it is too, which with sanitary sewer, it can be as important as anything, so.
Okay.
Anyone else? Sure. Okay, then we'll move on to B. Do we have an optional motion to recommend approval of the 2016 comprehensive plan to council? And I'm assuming you mean with your amendment that
Yeah.
you're added.
Yeah, and with this discussion.
Yeah,
I
we
just
talked
wanted to
about a
mention
bunch of little things
Yeah.
tonight, and I don't see that we've talked about anything, anything major.
What's an optional motion?
Means that I did not want to tell you had to make a motion. It's optional whether or not you make the motion or you pass over it and you wait till the next meeting.
In case you want to make some more amends to this before you pass it on to council, which is what I would hope you do. If you have concerns, you would.
All right, I'll make the motion. Not an optional motion, I'll make a motion to recommend approval of the 2016 comprehensive plan to council with the items that we've discussed today, kind of being updated, and maybe with a matrix too. That's not necessarily pertinent to go to council, but soon thereafter if they approve it.
Yep.
Second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, we'll move on to council liaison report.
Pardon?
Council-
I have nothing other than what I spoke to earlier about getting some more teeth in this as far as ordinances go and protecting the citizens of Polk City down the road. So we don't have a developer come in and put a big development, and in 5 years, we're all paying the bills for what's has to be done in there. We want the developer, or at least I want the developer to do it first. I want to do it on their dollar. Other than that, I have nothing.
Staff?
Madam Chair, I've just got one thing. Enjoy tonight's evening. I think April, you'll be very busy. And one item that I think that is coming will be a rezoning request for the church on 3rd Street. I think it's called the E-Free Church, currently owned by Lakeside Fellowship. They are entertaining a gentleman and who would like to turn this into a commercial establishment. It would probably fit in a C1, so you'll probably be seeing that in the near future as well. Yes. Yes, sir.
Commission report? Anyone?
On the list of things to do that we talked about, but one that I didn't think rose to the level of including in the comp plan was a few months ago, we did talk about solar arrays and perhaps needing a ordinance to deal with that, and knowing some other communities were looking at that. I noticed out in Lost Lakes that there is a house that did go in with some solar arrays on it, or solar panels on it. at least the way I would have liked to seen a ordinance developed. Probably they did 99% of what I would, I mean, so they didn't do it, you know, it looks good as far as I'm concerned. There's a few things that I think probably would have been done differently. But I think the only way we can get around that is to have the ordinance in place, to have any teeth, to give people guidance as far as what they can and can't do. And that's really protecting us from our neighbors, as I look at it, you know, to not have our neighbors do something that will, you know, devalue our property.
Well put.
Anyone else, anything else? If not, a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.